A memorial service was held in Scotland Monday for Queen Elizabeth. Her coffin is lying at rest at St. Giles Cathedral in Edinburgh to allow mourners to pay their respects. The Queen's remains will later be flown to London, where she will lie in state at Westminster Hall. Her funeral will take place on September 19th. For more on this, let's bring in James Roscoe. He is the Deputy British Ambassador to the U.S. and previously served as Queen Elizabeth's Communications Secretary from 2013 to 2016. James, welcome. Thank you for being with us. As someone who worked with the Queen, explain what Operation London Bridge is.
Well, I mean, Operation London Bridge is ultimately a period of mourning that starts with the death of the Queen, as you saw, and moves through a number of steps towards the Queen's funeral on the final day. But I think the really significant thing about London Bridge has been the fact that the Queen died in Scotland, which means that London Bridge has also been a process that has drawn together the different parts of the UK in marking the demise of the Crown. And we've seen that over the last few days, with the Queen's coffin being moved from Balmoral down to Edinburgh, and with the service at St. Giles Cathedral today. So London Bridge is ultimately the United Kingdom saying goodbye to its Queen, along with all of her other realms.
You're in Washington. A lot of Americans are saying goodbye to the Queen in their own way, too. What have you observed there in terms of the American response?
It's been really remarkable. And I think we have been incredibly moved here in the embassy by the reaction that we've seen. I mean, I was down by the Capitol today, and to see the Stars and Stripes flying at half-mast from your Capitol's buildings has been extraordinary. To drive back down Pennsylvania Avenue and see the Union flags down the avenue. But really, most significantly, to meet normal Americans who've gathered outside the embassy over the last few days to come inside and sign our condolence books, and to leave flowers and to just talk with them and hear about their recollections of the Queen and what the Queen meant to them. It's been quite incredible.
As someone who's served as the Queen's Communications Secretary, what was that like for someone who communicated so infrequently, at least with words? And what was the communication that took place with words versus, as you described it, the symbolism of coming from Scotland back to London, which has powerful communication that's purely symbolic?
Well, I think the Queen always used to say she had to be seen to be believed, and really her principal endeavor in terms of communication was to show her role as head of nation and head of state. And so you would see the head of state role in the state opening of Parliament. But the way really that she communicated was by getting around the country and meeting real people on a very regular basis. So, you know, when I was the Queen's Communications Secretary, we went all over the country, from Wales to Scotland to the north of England to the west of England. And that was her way of communicating, meeting real people and talking to them about the contribution and the service they were making and celebrating their service. But I think these few days of mourning and what we're seeing in terms of the coffin tomorrow beginning its journey south from Scotland down to Buckingham Palace, and then ultimately from the palace to Westminster Hall for the lying in state, is another way of the Queen communicating. And in a way, she's communicating the coherence of the nation that she's left behind.
The Queen's death has also stirred a conversation about the UK's colonial past and whether a reckoning with that history is needed. And this has manifested itself in everything from opinion pieces to social media with the hashtag abolish the monarchy. How do you read that, and whose responsibility is it for answering that ferment and those views?
Well, I think we've been trying to answer this question since the beginning of the Queen's reign, if not before. I mean, the process of decolonization is now 70, 80 years old. I mean, I spent 2 years in Sierra Leone, an ex-colony that the Queen visited in 1961 on a sort of a tour that took her there for over a week. And my impression of Sierra Leone was the positive relationship with the Queen, even after it became a republic, was as strong when I was there after the war in 2003 as it was when she visited in 1961. I think for me, the key question about the post-colonial era is answered by the Commonwealth, a group of nations which any state can join voluntarily and which all of the ex-colonies did join voluntarily, and which countries who were never colonies have subsequently joined. So Rwanda and Mozambique have joined since then. I think you're right. There are obviously questions to be answered about Britain's colonial past, but I'm not sure they're answered through the lens or the medium of the monarchy. They're answered through real conversations about the relationship between the UK and those countries and between those countries and each other today.
So a job perhaps for the Prime Minister more than for the King?
I have to say, I've read some of these opinion pieces, and I think, absolutely, the United Kingdom needs to reckon with its past, and we do. And prime ministers over the last several years have tried to reckon with that past and have addressed that past. But I don't think that past and our connection with those countries is represented today through the monarch or through the crown. There are, of course, still realms, but as was shown with Barbados leaving the realm just recently, that is a perfectly reasonable thing for a country to do. And the Prince of Wales went there for the ceremony, the transition from being a realm to being a republic. So I think we're all grown-ups.
James Roscoe in Washington, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.